Welcome back to the deep dive. I want to start today with a feeling, a very specific feeling that I think every single person listening has had at least once in the last few years. You find an AI tool you love, you start using it for everything work, coding, brainstorming dinner ideas, and then you just hit a wall.
It happens every time.
It doesn't know about the news that broke this morning, or even worse, it makes a logic error. You correct it, it apologizes, and then 10 minutes later, new chat, it makes the exact same mistake.
It's the Groundhog Day effect of large language models, and it is incredibly frustrating.
Exactly. We've all been sort of conditioned to accept that these models are static. They're frozen in time like a mosquito in amber. You wait 12, maybe 18 months for the next big version just to get a bug fix.
Right. It's like waiting for a movie sequel just to find out how the first one really ended.
Yeah.
And that has been the standard operating procedure for the whole industry. You train a massive brain, you freeze it, you serve it to the public, and then you just wait a year, maybe more, to do it all again.
But that standard might have just been shattered.
I think it has.
That's why we're here. 2 days ago, February 17th, 2026, Elon Musk and xAI released the public beta of Grok 4.2. And, I mean, looking at these release notes, this does not feel like a standard software update.
No.
It feels like they're trying to change the physics of how AI is built.
It's a pivot, a massive one. The headline claim here is that Grok 4.2 isn't static. It is designed to, quote, learn rapidly. The promise is that it gets smarter every single week based specifically on how we, the users, interact with it.
So instead of some yearly graduation ceremony, this thing is going to night school every single week.
That's the analogy.
Yeah.
But our job today is to take that apart because learning is, it's a marketing buzzword.
Right.
We need to understand how it learns without, breaking. We need to meet the specific agents running under the hood because it's not just one model anymore. And we have to talk about the risks. Because if you move this fast in software,
Things catch on fire.
usually you catch on fire.
Okay, so let's start with the launch itself. This dropped on X, formerly Twitter. Musk calls it a release candidate. If I want to go verify these claims right now, how do I actually get into the driver's seat?
It is live right now. You can go to grok.com or use the app. But, and this is a really crucial UI choice, it is not the default.
Oh, interesting.
You have to manually go into the model list and select Grok 4.2. They're keeping the guardrails up. It's a beta. They expect it to be volatile.
And that volatility is kind of part of the pitch, right? Musk explicitly said critical feedback is appreciated. He's literally asking people to poke holes in it.
He is. And he promised that unlike previous versions, this feedback loop is tight. Weekly improvements. They're effectively treating intelligence like a software changelog.
That's a wild concept. Usually a changelog is like fixed. App crashes when you upload a PDF. You're saying we're going to see notes like fixed. Model no longer hallucinates the history of the Roman Empire.
Exactly. Or improved. Python coding logic for recursion. It makes the evolution of the model's brain transparent to you, the user.
Okay, but I have to stop you there because as a user, when I hear it learns from my feedback, I think of something very specific. If I tell Grok a secret recipe today and it learns it, does it tell you that recipe tomorrow? Is this learning happening in real time?
That is the billion-dollar question. And the answer is no. And honestly, we should be thankful for that. This is not online learning in the strict academic sense.
Okay, differentiate those for me. What is strict online learning?
True online learning would mean that every time you hit enter, the model's neural weights, the actual connections in its digital brain, are updated instantly for everyone.
Which sounds incredibly efficient.
It sounds efficient, but it would be catastrophic in practice. First, the compute cost would be astronomical. But more importantly, it's dangerous.
How so?
If the internet decides to troll the AI, which the internet will do, and feed it garbage data, you could break the model's logic in minutes. You'd have what we call catastrophic forgetting, where it learns a new mean and suddenly forgets how to do math.
So it's not rewriting its own brain while we chat.
No. What xAI has built is a very, very high-speed feedback loop. It uses two key technologies, RLHF, that's reinforcement learning from human feedback, and RLAIF, which is AI feedback. Think of it as a batch process.
Walk me through the cycle. I yell at Grok for getting a coding question wrong. Then what?
You flag the error. That data goes into a, let's call it a holding pen. Then xAI systems and some other AI judges, they review that feedback to make sure it's valid. They aggregate thousands of these corrections. Then they run a fine-tuning update on the model, and then they push that new, smarter version out the following week.
So it's more like a weekly cram session based on the previous week's test results.
Precisely. And it creates this flywheel. This is the core business logic. More usage leads to more errors being caught. That data leads to a better model next week. The better model attracts more users, and the wheel just spins faster and faster.
And the targets are aggressive. Musk predicted that by the end of this beta in March, so we're talking barely a month, Grok 4.2 would be an order of magnitude smarter and faster than the base Grok 4.
Order of magnitude is a heavy phrase in engineering.
It's 10x.
It's 10x. I mean, usually getting 10x better requires a new generation of hardware and 6 months of training. Trying to squeeze that out of optimization loops in 4 weeks, that is bold.
Is it just marketing hype, or are we actually seeing it?
Well, early testers are reporting significant jumps. But the jumps aren't just because the model is smarter in a general sense. It's because the architecture has changed.
Yeah.
And this brings us to the heavy model.
Right. Grok 4.20 Zero Heavy, the premium tier. This is where we start hearing about agents. Now, I feel like agent is another one of those words that gets thrown around a little loosely. What does XAI mean when they say this is a multi-agent system?
This is the shift from a brain in a jar to a boardroom. Until now, when you use ChatGPT or Gemini, you were talking to one massive, generalized model trying to do everything. It's like asking one person to be a poet, a coder, a doctor, and a physicist all at once.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Grok 4.2 uses a specialized architecture. It can spin up to 16 specialized agents, all working in parallel. The sources even name them. You have Grok, who acts as the project manager.
Okay.
But then you have specialists like Harper and Lucas.
It sounds like a heist movie crew. I need a demolition expert and a safecracker. Who are Harper and Lucas?
Harper is the creative writer agent, tuned for prose, tone, and nuance. Lucas is the programmer, tuned strictly for code logic, syntax, and debugging. There's also Mia, a medical specialist.
So if I type in a prompt, say, write a Python script to analyze this medical data and summarize it in a poem, what happens under the hood?
So Grok, the manager, sees the prompt. It breaks it down. It hands the coding part to Lucas. It hands the medical analysis to Mia. It hands the summary part to Harper. They all do their work, send it back to Grok, who then synthesizes it all into one answer for you.
But doesn't that take forever? I mean, coordinating a team of 16 people usually means a lot of meetings. Does this slow down the response time?
That is the catch. It definitely increases the inference cost, the amount of computing power needed to answer a question. And it might add some latency. You are essentially paying for a team meeting every time you hit enter.
But the trade-off is accuracy.
The trade-off is accuracy. A single model often loses the thread on complex tasks. It forgets the constraints. By splitting the labor, you get what they call agentic behavior.
Agentic behavior. So that's the ability to plan a multi-step process.
Yes. Planning and executing. The early reports are highlighting big improvements in exactly that. Physics simulations, open engineering reasoning, things that require holding a lot of context in your head at once.
I saw that note about physics simulations. That seems incredibly heavy-duty for a chatbot. Why are they optimizing for that?
It signals who they want the customer to be. They aren't just gunning for the casual user asking for a recipe. They're targeting engineers, scientists, developers. They want Grok to be an R&D tool, not just a conversationalist.
And this ties right back to the weekly updates. If Lucas the coder agent sucks at Python this week, and 1,000 engineers correct him,
Lucas gets patched. Next week, he doesn't make that syntax error. The burden of quality assurance, it shifts from the XAI employees to the millions of users.
it's brilliant, but it's also kind of exhausting for the user, isn't it? We're now working for them.
We are. But that brings us to the competition. Because Grok needs an edge. We have GPT-5 rumors swirling. We have Gemini 1.5. We have Claude. What is Grok's moat?
Well, the speed of iteration is obviously the new moat. If OpenAI releases a model and it has a bias, you wait months for a fix. XAI is saying we fix it on Tuesday.
Exactly. But the bigger moat is the data. We have to talk about the X factor,
The Twitter hose.
the fire hose. Grok has privileged real-time access to the entire X platform. Other models are either scraping the web with a delay or they're blocked entirely from social media data now.
But is that good data? I love Twitter for breaking news, but it's not exactly a peer-reviewed journal. It's sarcasm, it's memes, it's arguments. Does training on that make an AI smarter or just more chaotic?
That is the double-edged sword. It makes the AI incredibly culturally relevant. It knows the slang, the sentiment, the breaking news instantly. If a riot starts or stock crashes, Grok knows now. ChatGPT might know tomorrow. But you're right, it risks ingesting the chaos.
And this leads me to the ideology. Musk has been very loud about this. He says Grok is focused on first principles reasoning. Is that actually reflected in the engineering, or is that just branding?
It's a mix of both. From a business strategy perspective, XAI is carving out a niche. They're positioning the other AIs, Gemini, ChatGPT, as being heavily filtered or sanctimonious. They want Grok to be the raw alternative.
So it's a product differentiation strategy?
Precisely. They call it auditability. They want the model to answer difficult questions without lecturing the user. Now, whether that makes the model better or worse is subjective, but strictly as product differentiation. It's smart. There is a market segment that feels patronized by current AI safety filters. XAI is grabbing that market.
So we have a model that updates weekly, relies on real-time social media data, and prides itself on fewer filters. That sounds like a recipe for excitement, but also for disaster. Let's talk risks.
The biggest engineering risk is regression.
Explain that.
In software, a regression is when you fix one bug and accidentally create two new ones. When you're fine-tuning a neural network, this fast weekly update stability is a nightmare. You might tweak the weights to make it better at poetry, and suddenly it forgets how to do long division.
So Harper gets an upgrade and Lucas gets a lobotomy.
Exactly. And catching those regressions before they hit the public when you're on a one-week deadline, that is wildly difficult. Yeah. We should expect Grok 4.2 to have weeks where it actually gets dumber.
Wow. And then there's the manipulation aspect. We talked about the feedback loop. If the model learns from feedback, and the feedback comes from the internet, can't we just lie to it?
We call this data poisoning or review bombing. Imagine a coordinated group of users on X decides they want to convince Grok that the sky is green, or that a specific historical event never happened.
If they all submit corrections at the same time.
The algorithm sees a spike in human feedback saying X is false and Y is true. If the filters aren't good enough, the model ingests that bias, the weekly update rolls out, and suddenly Grok believes the conspiracy theory.
That is terrifying. It turns truth into a popularity contest.
It raises a pretty deep philosophical and technical question. What is truth to an AI? Is it factual accuracy, or is it user satisfaction? If the AI's goal is to make the user happy and the users want to hear lies, the AI becomes a sycophant.
We also have to mention the scale here. The sources mention Colossus.
The training cluster, over 200,000 GPUs.
200,000? That's just hard to visualize.
It is, for all intents and purposes, the largest supercomputer of its kind on Earth. The energy consumption alone is enough to power a small city.
And they're running this 24/7 for these weekly loops.
Yes. And it begs the question of sustainability. We talk about AI as this ethereal, cloud software, but it is physically heavy. It burns coal and gas. Is it worth burning that much energy just to make the chatbot 2% funnier next week?
That's a valid pushback. There's also the privacy angle. If I'm a premium user paying for Grok 4.2 heavy and I'm submitting my code or my medical data for analysis, and I give feedback, where does that data go?
The sources are a bit gray here. Generally, if you are submitting feedback for training, you are handing that data over. You're paying them to let you work in their data mines.
That completely blurs the line between customer and employee.
It does, but this is the new pact, right?
Okay.
We get a smarter tool, they get our training data.
So, stepping back for a second, we have a multi-agent system, a massive supercomputer, and a weekly evolutionary cycle. Regardless of what we think of Musk, this feels like it forces everyone else to speed up.
It absolutely does. The days of the static model are numbered. Consumers are going to start asking OpenAI and Google, why is your AI still stupid about the thing I told it last month when Grok learned it in a week?
It raises the bar for responsiveness.
It changes the very definition of a finished product. Nothing is finished anymore. Everything is in permanent beta. Everything is becoming.
Which brings us to the takeaway for you, for our listeners. If you're using these tools, you're not just a user anymore, you are a trainer. When you type that correction, you aren't just shouting into the void. You are potentially rewriting the code for next Tuesday's release.
It's empowering, but it carries a heavy responsibility. We are collectively shaping the intelligence that we're all going to rely on.
And that is the thought I want to leave you with today. As we move into this era of rapid learning AI, ask yourself this. If the AI learns from the loudest, most persistent voices in the feedback loop, who is really teaching the class? Is it the experts? Or is it the trolls?
That is the question that will define the next year of AI.
Thanks for diving in with us. Stay curious, keep learning, and maybe be careful what you teach the machines. We'll catch you in the next deep dive.